Hello, and welcome to On the Turf, hosted by three guys who have never been on the turf. My name is Arjun and Rohan.
I'm Rohan Patel.
And looks like Shri isn't here again. Some spotty attendance this year from Shri.
If this was school, he wouldn't be able to graduate with that.
He would not be able to graduate. I think he's currently trying to graduate. I think he's currently trying to get into college. I think that's why he's not here. Yeah, but who cares about that? But we had a great week 15 of football. Probably one of the craziest weeks, if not the craziest week we've had this entire season, right? The greatest comeback, or not the greatest, but the biggest comeback in NFL history. We had, star quarterbacks, Burrow, Mahomes, Allen, Lawrence now, all of them making big plays for their teams to put them up over the top, comeback wins. And we saw teams like the Patriots commit probably the stupidest play I've ever seen in NFL history. I like Jacoby Myers. I think Jacoby Myers is actually probably one of the best offensive players on a team that doesn't have very good offensive players like the Patriots. But man, that was
the most questionable decision I've ever. That was. I didn't watch that one live. I was just so confused as to what occurred.
So I was in like a 4-hour car ride back to Pittsburgh, and I was like, what the hell is happening? Because I was watching Red Zone on my small ass phone, and I see this happen. But we'll get into that game a little bit more and talk about what this means for both the Patriots and the Raiders. Let's kick it off. First game of week 15. The Minnesota Vikings versus the Indianapolis Colts. So for a little context here, I was taking a final during the first quarter and a half of this game, and if any of you have listened to the podcast this season, I've never believed in the Vikings this entire season. So naturally, when I get out of my final, it's 23-0. I'm feeling pretty good. I'm like, all right, I'm vindicated. I'm about to go on this podcast on Monday and talk about how bad the Vikings are. But then the Vikings let the lead grow to 33-0. And then the second half, Justin Jefferson, KJ Osborne, and Kirk Cousins come to life, and that Indianapolis team left by Jeff Saturday on a Saturday falls apart. Rohan, I'm still not a believer in the Vikings after this. I don't care. It took divine intervention for them to win this. But what do you think?
Okay, Arjun, anything that the Vikings do, you simply can't. You still choose to hate. You're me with Joe Burrow.
Can you look at them and tell me they are a good team? They have one of the worst defenses I've ever seen.
Okay, here's the thing. Sure, one of the worst defenses, you want to say that? They allowed 3 points in the entire second half. And let's not forget that the 33 points, yes, 33, huge number. The 33 points they let up, a lot of those were fluky points, so to speak. I mean, there was a blocked punt for a touchdown. There was an interception return that put them in a really, really good field position. It's not like Matt Ryan was tearing this defense up. Let's get that straight, right? A lot of the points came from the fact that
this Colts offense is a BB gun at best with Matt Ryan and Jeff Saturday, as the coach.
No, it's terrible. And here's the thing is that it looked terrible, as it should, in the second half. The Vikings got it together and they played the way they should. Now, obviously, if you have a start like this against an actually good team that you're going to run into the playoffs, like the Cowboys, Niners, Eagles, it's done. You're not going to win. But for me, if anything, this was better than a normal win. This is better than if the Vikings just came out and beat the Colts normally. Because this shows me that this team can come back, they have resilience, and that this team can actually turn it up at any point in time. You know what I'm saying? They could have easily folded, and we would have said, okay, whatever, Vikings suck. But instead, they come out. You can't dispute the greatest comeback in NFL history.
Okay, but Rohan, are you going to sit here and tell me this team can win a playoff game? Even against, they're likely to be the 2 seed at this point. And, it looks like my prediction's coming true. It looks like the Lions are coming for that 7 seed. Are you going to tell me that even at Minnesota, this Vikings team is capable of winning a playoff game against a Lions team that seems to have a really good offense and a defense that's surging in the second half of the season? Can you tell me that they can win that game?
Yes, I would say yes. Because I just think that this team is more prepared for it. This team has more talent. They have more experience than the Lions do. Don't get me wrong, the Lions are a great team. First off, there's no saying whether they get the 7th seed or not. There's a ton of other good teams out there competing for it. Second, once again, it comes back to the fact that this Vikings team is well coached. They have a veteran quarterback who can excel, as we've seen. Over 450 yards, 4 touchdowns. That was arguably one of Kirk Cousins' best games in his entire career. He's capable of having those games, especially with the talent that's around him. Justin Jefferson, Dalvin Cook, Adam Thielen, KJ Osborne's up and coming, TJ Hawk. Like, there's so many weapons on this offense. They can hang with anyone.
I guess so. I don't know. I'm still not a believer. I think I'll have to see it to believe it. And with how this season is going, wouldn't be surprised to see the Vikings in the Super Bowl at this point. But next game, Saturday night, this was a really great game. Turned out to be a snowball. We were expecting it to be a snowball the entire time, but in the fourth quarter, the blizzard, lake effect snow hit Buffalo. But the Bills came away with a 32-29 game against the Miami Dolphins. First, we're going to talk about how good the Bills have show they were in this game, especially Josh Allen putting the team on his back in the fourth quarter. But I think this is as good of a loss as you can get in the NFL, especially for a team like the Miami Dolphins. Past 2 weeks, yes, they've gone 0-3 in their road stretch against the Niners, the Chargers, and now at Buffalo. But this team showed improvement from that stretch. Tua played a pretty good game, all things considered, in really tough conditions. I think Mike McDaniel, he called a really good game in the first half, especially with the run game. Raheem Mostert had 100 yards in the first quarter, but they seemed to get a little bit away from the run game in the second half, which I think if Mike McDaniel calls this game again, I think you call more runs in the second half and you would likely win that game and keep Josh Allen off the field. But all things considered, this is a really good Bills team. This is still the Super Bowl contending Bills team. And Miami, with losses by the Jets and the Patriots, despite the loss, seems to still be in contention for the playoffs. But Rohan, what are your takeaways from this game? I know you like Miami, but the Bills seem to be still the kings of the AFC East.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was quite clear from this game too. The Bills, I think, first and foremost, managed to avenge that loss from earlier in the year. They had down in Miami. And Josh Allen came to play. I mean, he had a bit of a rough stretch that we talked about in terms of having issues with turnovers. That was not an issue, especially, which is even greater considering it was in such bad conditions in Buffalo. I mean, 4 touchdowns throwing, over 300 yards passing. He was the team's leading rusher too, with over 70 yards rushing. Um, Pretty flawless game from him. Can't ask for much more. On the other side of the ball, Tua also had a pretty good game. He was 17 for 30, 2 touchdowns, got one to Waddle and Hill. Um, and like you said, Raheem Mostert also had a really, really good game, which I think was an element that it was there probably for the Dolphins the entire time, but their running game hadn't been the prominent factor in their offense. Maybe this game is a sign that they need to go to that more, and take some of the pressure off of Tua. But in terms of like the big picture here, the Dolphins I think are going to make the playoffs, but this last 3 week stretch has definitely poked a lot of holes in their team. If you asked me before that 3 week stretch, I'd say even if they were a wild card team, they're a Super Bowl contender. Now, I don't think that as much. I think their offense has been okay for this stretch, but it's their defense that's really proven to be the issue. They've gotten torn up by two good quarterbacks and Justin Herbert
You
and
mean
Josh
three,
Allen.
three, three good quarterbacks? You mean? Put some respect
I'm
on
joking. I
Brock
can't even
Purdy's
say
name,
Brock
man.
Purdy, bro.
Yeah.
I can't even say Brock Purdy. But sure, three good quarterbacks. And again, like what I'm saying is that their defense is really, I think, an issue that I think that's going to be their biggest thing in the offseason, is how do we get that defense to be better? I think you need a lot better. First of all, you need a lot better run stoppers. I mean, Devin Singletary even had a good game against the Dolphins to salt away the game really, and put them out of uh, contention. McCaffrey obviously had a good game. I'm pretty sure Eckler also had a good game on the ground against the Dolphins. So I think that when it comes to the Dolphins offseason, you need to start looking at ways to find run stoppers, find ways to stop the run, because you already have top tier corners, you already have a top tier pass rusher in Bradley Chubb, um, and it's a bit concerning that this defense is still letting up so many points.
So really quickly, let's talk about Patriots Raiders. Neither of these two teams, in my opinion, are going to make the playoffs. I think for the Raiders, a little too little, too late for them, and it took a goddamn
Mhm.
miracle for them to win the game. Patriots, I think the coaching decisions and the personnel decisions this offseason are really coming back to bite Bill Belichick and this team. Matt Patricia and Joe Judge are not offensive coordinators. They never were meant to be, and they've shown that. Mac Jones, Mac Jones has been okay this season given the circumstances. He doesn't have a play caller and the personnel. I mean, Bill Belichick 2 seasons ago, following that Cam Newton season, went out and spent the most free agent money that he's ever done in his Patriots tenure. None of these free agents, Matthew Judon has turned out. Hunter Henry's been okay, but for the most part, these free agents haven't turned out. And I think these personnel decisions from Belichick are limiting this team, and it simply doesn't have talent. And I really don't know where the Patriots go from here. I think they're in one of the weirdest situations in the NFL, given how old Bill Belichick is now. Mac Jones, is he really the franchise guy? And their weapons really don't inspire much confidence going forward.
Yeah, I mean, I think that, like you said, in terms of Patriots, they insisted on investing in like mid-tier offensive talent in hopes that a lot of mid-tier talent would make up for a lack of a superstar. And that clearly hasn't worked out for them. I mean, you can point to maybe Ramondre Stevenson, say he's their bright spot, he's their offensive star. Um, I don't necessarily buy that argument. He had a really good game against the Raiders, sure, but he's not like a absolutely game breaking running back that can do it in every phase of the game, like your Dalvin Cooks, your Alvin Kamara's, your Christian McCaffrey's, or Saquon Barkley's, etc. You don't have a running back like that. You don't have a receiver like that. In fact, we'll talk about the receiver that cost them this game, and that's Jacoby Myers, who arguably is their best pass catching threat. But what was going on that last play? I need someone to walk me through what the decision was there. Was it what I mean,
I mean,
was the idea just to do laterals?
it sounds like the play call was just a draw to Ramondre Stevenson. It sounds like that was just a play call, run the clock out. Then Ramondre said, I think, made the split second decision. I don't know if this is a coaching decision. It sounds like from the post game press conference, it was simply a draw. Ramondre decides to lateral it, which is the first bad decision. And then Jacoby Myers decides to yeet it back to Mac Jones, who's already on the ground with Chandler Jones in front of him. Then Mac Jones tries to get back up. Chandler Jones gets the ball, stiff arm, and the rest is history. And the Raiders
Stiff arms is a nice way of putting it. But
Yeah,
he absolutely threw him to the floor.
yeah,
Um, that was it was just it was like mind breaking. Like you didn't understand. Like you check the score like three times. You know what I'm saying? Like I was like they're losing. Like
yeah,
why else would you make that choice? It was very confusing, and it was a very un-Patriots way to lose, I have to say. I mean,
yeah.
for a
Exactly.
team
I
that's
think,
built on discipline and doing things correctly and getting all the small things right, this was just a massive, like massive brain fart.
yeah, I don't really know where the Patriots go from here. They got the Bengals, Bills, and Dolphins left on the schedule. Three playoff teams. Could be 0-3 down that stretch. Let's see if Bill can once again will his team to a win. But let's talk about two better teams than the Patriots. The Jacksonville Jaguars. I gotta say, look, I'm
Who would
sorry,
have thought?
Jaguars. I'm sorry, Jaguars. I was on your train at the beginning of the season. I jumped off for a little bit, but just like the Lions, I'm back on. If you guys don't remember, week 3, I remember in our like week 2 overreactions after the Jaguars started like 2-1 or 2-1. I think I was like, oh, they're gonna win the AFC South, and then I was like, all right, maybe they're not going to. They have a chance now. They came back 40-34 against the Dallas Cowboys. Dallas Cowboys were up 24-10 at one point in the game, but Trevor Lawrence, 4 touchdowns. Since midseason, Trevor Lawrence has been one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. 11-1 touchdown to interception ratio, really high, one of the highest completion percentages in the NFL. He's becoming a superstar before our very eyes, and it's good to see. Jaguars finally found their quarterback, it seems, and their coach in Doug Peterson. And suddenly, with the Titans losing to the Chargers, the Jacksonville Jaguars are just half a game back, considering they beat the Titans last week as well. So they play each other in Week 18. This get really interesting in the AFC South with the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Yeah, I mean, I think that Week 18 game could be the deal breaker for that AFC South. But I mean, for the Jaguars, like you said, I think they've really seen an upturn through past the midway point of the season. Trevor Lawrence, he's been very, very good. I mean, you saw that last minute game winning drive against the Ravens. Then you see a masterclass yesterday, or 2 days ago against the Cowboys, putting up 4 touchdowns over 300 yards. Uh, a freaking Zay Jones
Oh,
masterclass for
Zay
some
Jones.
reason.
Zay Jones. Guys, for
Talk
context,
about it. Talk about it, Arjun. I don't want to talk about it.
so Rohan and I are playing each other in our on the Turf Fantasy League, which some of you are a part of. We're playing each other in the first round of the playoffs. Guess who had Zay Jones? This guy. Thank you, Zay Jones. 3 touchdowns. The team will be renamed in your honor in the round two. I'm sorry, Rohan. I'm sorry. I wish it didn't have to happen this way, but the Midmen move on to round two against all odds. We started 1-4, but Zay Jones.
Mind you, in this league I had Kirk Cousins, I had Juwan Johnson this week, I had AJ Brown, I had Terry McLaurin. All these players, I put up over 150 points, and I still found a way to lose because of
Yeah, I mean, I still have
goddamn
Aaron
Zay
Jones tonight,
Jones.
and I already have 175. So we'll see how many points this team can really put up.
So
Um,
unnecessary, so unnecessary. But I mean, for the Jaguars, obviously a really good story, really good win, and a great pick six to end that game off. Another crazy ending, in the NFL. From the Cowboys' perspective, though, I mean, last week you were a bit worried they needed a comeback win to come and beat the Texans, and now this week they choke away a big lead to this Jaguars team. The defense, which is supposed to be very, very good, goes out and gives up 34 points. I mean,
40
what
points.
do you make of that? Are the Cowboys still contenders? Are they just a shaky team? What's their shtick?
It's the same old Cowboys. I
Same old
like. I mean,
Cowboys.
I mean, is this team any different from what we? I feel like I'm getting deja vu with how similar this team is to last year, right? Like I remember last year in middle of the season, I remember I was putting them like 3, 4 in my power rankings. I was like, all right, Dallas Cowboys are going to win the Super Bowl. Then down the stretch, they have some tough games. I remember Thanksgiving they lose to the Raiders, and then they put up like 50 points against the Commanders in Week 17, Week 18, and then we're like, oh, we're back on the Dallas Cowboys train. But this Cowboys team is going to get a lucky break. They may win a playoff game this year just because they're going to play the NFC South winner. So they'll probably win a playoff game there. But no way this team is still contenders. I think the writing has been on the wall for this team. Letting up 40 points for your defense, which is supposed to be your strong suit, you can't have that happen. Dak has been fine. The 2 picks were really his fault. I don't think he's the reason this team is losing, but Mike McCarthy is going to hold this team back, as we've seen before. They let up a lot of penalties, and this defense seems to be pretty inconsistent as well, almost losing the game to the Texans last week. Last game we want to talk about week 15, Bengals Bucks. Joe Burrow, and the Bengals, 34 unanswered points in the second half by this team, or near second half, with a last minute field goal in the first half. Bucks were up 17-0. You really just don't see this from a Tom Brady team. Like, this season is just so weird to see as someone who's watched Tom Brady forever.
hmm
This Bucks team is just uncharacteristic of what we've come to expect from a team that has Tom Brady under center. I mean, letting up 34 unanswered. He doesn't play defense, but he gave up 2 turnovers in the second half that gave the Bengals short fields. I think the Bengals had 3 straight drives starting within the Bucks like 30-yard line, which is
Oh wow.
insane. Allowing them to put up, 34 unanswered. And, against a team like the Bengals, which are a top flight contender in this AFC, and in my opinion, the best team in the AFC.
You need to hop off the Bengals, bro. They're
I
like
what the Chiefs almost got taken. The Chiefs got taken to overtime by the Texans. The Bills, I'll give you that. The Bills are a really good team, and we'll see next week on Monday Night Football how this Bills and Bengals team match up. But right now,
who do you think is gonna? Okay, actually, I'll say that for our previews. But I mean, listen, in terms of this game, Bengals. I mean, this realistically, like this is the game they were supposed to win.
yeah,
Um, and again, similar to the Vikings game, it's good to see that this team battled their adversity. You're on an away game, you're down by 3 scores, and you still come back and win. I mean, obviously the defense did a lot for you. I think that's very impressive, especially against, as you said, a Tom Brady offense. Joe Burrow, almost perfect on the day for 4 touchdowns, only 1 pick. Um, I mean, you can't ask for much more. Again, this is like I said, I'm not gonna lie, this is obviously a very good Bengals team. Whether they're in the upper echelon of AFC teams, I'd argue they're right below the Chiefs and Bills maybe at this point.
what more do
Um,
you need to see? They beat the Chiefs like 2 weeks ago.
if they beat the Bills, then maybe I'll consider. But even then,
I
I don't know. It's just
I mean, they beat the
I
Chiefs,
don't
and you
know.
still have them lower than the Chiefs, right?
Yeah, something just doesn't sit right with me about this Bengals team. I don't know what it is quite yet.
I mean, I think I just I can't. I guess we can move to the playoff picture now because let's talk about these AF teams. But like let's the Bengals are 10-4. They're in the driver's seat in the AFC North now. The Ravens, to me, look, I know I hate the Ravens, but the Ravens to me look kind of shaky. I mean, losing to the Browns, I get you don't have Lamar Jackson, but without Lamar Jackson, this team cannot do anything offensively. And
I
they
mean,
were
yes,
struggling
but
offensively
that's a
even
very
with
big
him.
asterisk. First of all, like not having Lamar, like Lamar does make this team go. If
Right.
Cincinnati loses Joe Burrow, they're in equally bad straits.
No, I don't disagree with you, but the difference is the Bengals without Burrow still have Chase, Higgins, Tyler Boyd, Joe Mixon, and some defensive stars. The Ravens have the defensive stars. On offense, Mark Andrews has continued to be limited by that injury he suffered earlier this season. Beyond that, there's no one on this team. I mean, the Ravens to me, they'll still probably make the playoffs, but this isn't as close. You have teams like the Chargers and the Dolphins who are right behind them with sitting at 8-6. And then you have
Mhm.
teams like the Patriots, the Jets, and the Jaguars who can easily Jaguars likely to leap up in the AFC South, but these two other teams, the Patriots and the Jets, can easily make a run for one of these playoff spots as well. But do you think this playoff picture stays consistent? I mean, I think this is what I envisioned the playoff picture looking earlier this season, um, just flipping the Bengals and the
Mhm.
Ravens. But I don't know. I like the Chargers. They have a really easy schedule going forward, and the Dolphins just need to beat the Patriots or the Jets, and they likely get in. Probably more so the Jets than the Patriots.
Okay, I mean, like first looking at the top of the AFC, you have the Bills at one, Chiefs at two. I don't think you see much shake up there. I think that both teams, if they want to win every game, they can win every game, and therefore, I'll give the Bills the number one seed, Chiefs number two seed. Bengals at three. For me, this one, I know you're gonna hate this, but I still think it's a bit shaky. They have the Bills coming up, um, in 2 weeks. Sorry, right? Yeah, they have the Patriots this week and the Bills the week after, and then they have the Ravens. I mean, if they even lose one of those games, they fall back to the same record as the Ravens, and the Ravens have the head-to-head currently. So I think it really will end up coming down to that final game, considering the Ravens play the Falcons and Steelers next. And those should be two easy
You
wins
gonna
if
talk about
Lamar
this?
is
You gonna
back.
talk about us like that? You gonna talk about the Steelers like that?
Yes, I will, actually.
I'm just saying we gotta win this
The,
week. Don't disrespect us.
against the Panthers, buddy. You remember that, right?
Panthers are still alive for a division championship. I don't care what their record is. We beat a
Okay.
potential division champion.
Well, I'm glad you're happy you beat Sam Darnold. But but the Ravens still have a very, very feasible path. Not First of all, I think they're making the playoffs for sure, considering the record they have ahead of them. And moreover, I think they have a very feasible path towards still getting that three seed in the AFC if they can beat the Bengals that last week. Then at the four seed, it's the Titans right now. Is it the Jaguars by the end of the year? I
I'm
can't
hopping
tell.
back on. It's gonna be the Jaguars, man. It's gonna be
You're
the
hopping back on?
Jaguars.
I don't
Yeah.
know. To me, both these teams are still too shaky. Like the Jaguars have good games, sure, but then there are these games where it's like it could go either way, where they
Yeah.
could have very well lost as in the blink of an eye if things don't go right for them, if like a small thing doesn't happen for them. So I'm not completely sold, but the Titans also look bad too. So it's a hard one
Yeah.
to call. Then I think the wild card is where it's really, like you said, where it really gets interesting. I think with the five seed, you'll see the Bengals or the Ravens, whichever one doesn't win the division. And then honestly, I like the way it is right now. I think you'll see the Chargers and Dolphins at 6 and 7. It maybe might shift between those two, but the Patriots don't look good. The Jets, I mean, it's really disappointing considering how good of a story they were to begin the year.
And
But
how good
they
that defense
also,
is.
yeah, and how good the defense is, yeah. But I think as we've seen, like this offense will hold them back, especially if the savior Mike White isn't there to play. Um, And then you also got tough games for them too. You got the Dolphins, you got the Jaguars. It's not really conducive to winning a lot of games. So unfortunately, I think you'll see them slide out. I think the top seven you have right now are the top seven you'll end with, and that includes the Titans.
So now moving to the NFC, I think these top three seeds will likely stay locked in. Eagles at one seems virtually locked in. We'll get into what's happening with the Eagles and Jalen Hurts in a bit. But Vikings at 2 and 3, Vikings and Niners at 2 and 3. You can see the Niners jump up. The Vikings play the Packers, the Giants, and the Bears coming up. Bears probably a win, but Giants and Packers could go either way. And San Francisco seems poised to win out, even with Brock Purdy. It seems to me. I don't think there's any. This team is simply just really dominant. Then the 5 seed Dallas, I think, is going to stick at 5. There's with the loss to Jacksonville, they basically lost their chance of winning the NFC East. And the Giants and Commanders are currently at 6 and 7, but like I said, Lions are sneaking up on this NFC playoff race. They're not in right now. They're 7 and 7, half game behind the Commanders at 7-6-1. They got the Panthers, the Bears, and the Packers, all winnable games. This team could be 10 and 7 and making the playoffs, like I said. And I'm just gonna say it. They're making it. They're making it at this point. They've won a 6-game win streak. They simply have been one of the more dominant teams in the NFL as of late. And I think we see the Giants with their big win against the Commanders last night. They probably stick there at the 6th seed. That gives them a really good footing. The Seahawks, great story, but I think they're dropping off. They got the Chiefs coming up next week. And it's going to be a really tough schedule down the stretch with them with the Jets as well. But like I said, I like this playoff picture to stay how it is. Tampa Bay is still there, I guess. And Detroit goes in at 7, I think.
I mean, I really want to I know I got in your case like last week or the week before for saying that the Lions could make the playoffs, but I am a man willing to admit his mistakes, admit his faults.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
The Lions look really good. They look very, very good. Last week was another tough win for them, but they got the job done against the Jets, which was very impressive considering it's a very good defense. And I mean, when you look at the people they're competing with, the Commanders, they got the Niners, the Browns, the Cowboys coming up. I think I see 2 losses there. Um, and that's considering that they can beat the Browns. Then for the Giants, I mean, the Giants are sitting at 8-5, and I think they're in a better spot. For them, they got the Vikings, the Colts, and the Eagles. Maybe 2 losses there too, but even then, I think it should be enough for them to sneak in. It comes down to the Seahawks, like you said. The Seahawks have a tougher schedule, therefore, maybe the Lions do sneak in. Maybe they are that 7th seed. Um, Technically, the Packers have a shot. They play
Oh yeah,
tonight.
I forgot the Packers are still
I
here.
mean, you can't. I mean, we're recording this on Monday night, right? They're going to be likely going to be 6-8 if they can beat the Rams as they should, right? And then they beat the Rams. As you said, they have a crucial game against the Lions later in the year. But before that, they go and play Miami, they go and play Minnesota, and they go against Detroit. Now, that's a tough schedule, first and foremost. I mean, Miami and Minnesota are 2 very, very tough games, and I think if you're the Packers, you need to win out. That being said, are you ruling out Aaron Rodgers in December? I mean,
Yes, I am.
yes.
Yes.
That was a very confident yes from someone who's a big Aaron Rodgers fan.
Miami is gonna dice up this defense. I'm sorry.
Hmm.
Miami's gonna be angry as well going into next week on Christmas Day playing this Packers team. I think it's gonna be bad for this Packers defense. This offense seems to be coming alive. We got Christian Watson. He's doing well. But this seems like an 8-win team to me, even if they can beat Minnesota. All right, so finally, I guess we gotta talk about the NFC South. Um, I think all of these teams are still technically alive. If alive is a term that's an apt to
So
describe
it's a
these.
strong term to use, but it's
Yeah.
technically correct.
Um, Tampa Bay 6-8. They're still there. Carolina is in control of their own destiny, if you can believe it. They play Tampa Bay in week 18 or week 17 rather. If they can win out,
They beat them once. They've already beat them once.
yeah. That was with PJ Walker. They got Sam Darnold now. If that's enough praise.
A far better quarterback.
Yeah. But who's gonna win this division? Who's gonna lose? Actually, no. You know what? I'm not even gonna say they're gonna lose to the Cowboys because it would be the most Cowboys thing to lose to whoever wins this terrible division in the playoffs. But who's your prediction? I'm still going with Tampa Bay. I know Tom Brady's like taking the backs, like he's not as good this year, and this team is terrible, and the coaching is terrible. But they have to win this division, right?
Well, first off, if they do win the division, I think it would be the most Tom Brady thing to go and beat the Cowboys. I'd
He's never
almost
lost to them.
root for that to happen. But no, the Bucks aren't making the playoffs. I'm afraid it's gonna be the Carolina Panthers. I
Whoa,
mean,
whoa.
a part of me just would find it very funny if the shittiest team in this division managed to get up and win.
Yeah.
But here's how I see it. I mean, they have the Lions coming up, which we were saying Lions easy win, but the Panthers play people tough. Wait, okay, wait, they lost to the Steelers this week.
We're not that bad, man. Give us some respect. We're mediocre as hell, and we're proud of it.
Okay, scratch all of that. The Panthers can't win if they can't beat the Steelers. I would like them for that. I would like to see a 3-game Panthers winning streak to end the year, where they beat the
Feeling proud
Lions,
to
the
defend my
Bucks, and the
team right
Saints
now.
in succession, but that's not happening. Take the damn hat off
I'm feeling proud of my team right now. You're slandering
for
them.
what? For beating the Panthers?
We're 6-8,
Are
man.
you-
Tomlin's gonna drag this team kicking and screaming to 8 wins. 8-1. A tie is coming in the next 3 weeks. I'm telling you.
three wins?
I actually, in our predictions, I might predict a tie coming up against like the Ravens or something because it would be like the most.
Just so you can keep 500.
Yeah, I mean, Tomlin like he has to do it, right?
There's no way it can't happen.
Yeah.
You've been spoiled too much.
But yeah, I guess whoever wins this division is going to lose in the playoffs. No one's making the Super Bowl from this division. We've already spent way too much time talking about it.
It's fun.
But
It's fun to think
we got
about.
a great week 16 of football coming up. Holidays are coming up. Christmas games are coming up. So we're really excited. We'll be coming out with bets of the week as well for later this week as the lines kind of even out. We didn't really talk about the Eagles real quick, but that line for the Cowboys-Eagles game has shifted to Cowboys favored by 5 after the Jalen Hurts injury. We'll see kind of how they proceed with that probably next week's episode after the Eagles-Cowboys game. But thank you guys so much for listening. Make sure to check out our Instagram for picks, power rankings, and all of our other content, including episodes and bets of the week. That's about it. Thank you for listening. My name is Arjun and Rohan.
I'm Ron Patel.
And we'll see you next week in week 16 on the turf.